Bonjour. Bonjour. Voilà, nous sommes devant la partie 2, vocabulaire 2, chapitre 3, l'origine familiale, so family heritage. Notice that this chapter, the first part, looks at vocabulary. The second part is going to look at possessive adjectives and demonstrative adjectives. Possessive adjectives are adjectives you use to express possession. That is, if you say my book, my is perceived as an adjective. It's taking the word book and it's changing how we look at it, as an adjective does with nouns, and it becomes mon livre, or my family, ma famille. Demonstrative adjectives also are ways of demonstrating, instead of saying, the family or my family, a demonstrative is this family, cette famille. For the time being, though, let's just focus on the vocabulary of family, as well as another way of expressing possession, which is simply by putting in the de, this little particule, de. For example, if you say the father of Abia, or Abia's father in English, le père d'Abia. It's, in this case, D with an apostrophe, because Abia begins A with an A. But if it was the father of Bisa, which is another first name we see around here, it would be le père de Bisa. Here we have the example, Adelaide est le mari de Bisa. It's the husband of Bisa, or the father of Abia, which we would translate in English, Abia's father. They give you a little notes de vocabulaire here, reminding you, though, it's not just de and d apostrophe. Sometimes, when you have de plus le, it becomes du. For example, le président. In the title president, it's always le président. So if you said, ah voilà, ce sont les enfants du président. If you were looking, for example, at the night that President Obama received his second nomination at the Democratic Convention, you would look, you would see Obama with his two daughters, and you would say, ah voilà, c'est Malia et Sasha. Ce sont les enfants du président Obama. And also, DES is what you get when you put de plus les. Voilà les amis des enfants. And there are the friends of the children, des enfants. Now let's focus on vocabulary first. Voilà, Adelaide et Bisa, tout en haut de l'arbre généalogique, ce sont les grands-parents. They are the grandparents, les grands-parents. The word grands-parents is formed with grand, grand, but there's an S at the end, grands-parents. And then the next level, les parents, n'est-ce pas? Nadia et François, ce sont les parents de Patrick et Aude. Et puis Xavier et Abia, n'est-ce pas? Ce sont les enfants, ce sont les enfants, oui, ce sont les enfants d'Adelaide et de Bisa. Mais ce ne sont pas des parents. They aren't parents. Ils n'ont pas d'enfants. They don't have children. Mais Nadia et François, ce sont les parents. And then Patrick et Aude, we would say, ce sont les petits enfants. So you have grands-parents, parents, and then below the parents, ce sont les petits enfants. Small children, little children, grandchildren. In English we have grandparents, grandchildren. In French it's one step above is les grands-parents, and then one step below, les parents, is les petits enfants. The word for petits enfants, to be more specific, if you're talking about the son to François, you would say le fils. To talk about the grandson, le petit-fils. Aude is fille. Note the pronunciation, very specific. Le fils, la fille. Aude, c'est la petite fille. And of course, you also have the word for father, le père, mother, la mère. Again, les parents, la fille, le fils. If you're talking about a husband and wife, the husband is le mari, and the wife is la femme. You can also say l'époux, which is very similar to our spouse, époux, and then with that man it's an X, l'époux, and with the woman it's really with an SE, so even closer to the word in English, l'épouse. And les enfants, voilà, les enfants, children. Now you see in this vocabulary you have Adelaide, Adelaide, et le père d'Abia. Voilà. Adelaide, le voilà, c'est le père d'Abia. C'est aussi le père de Nadia et de Xavier. Alors Nadia, son époux, s'appelle François. François, c'est le mari de Nadia et c'est le père de Patrick, Aude et bon, le chat Fifi. Alors, Adelaide, c'est le beau-père de François. Do you hear that word? Le beau-père. Un beau-père is a father-in-law. Et Bissa, c'est la mère de Nadia, c'est la belle-mère de François. So notice with le beau-père, la belle-mère. Abia, n'est-ce pas, qui est la sœur de Nadia, c'est la belle-sœur de François, alors que Xavier, c'est le beau-frère. Le beau-frère. Now, there's a little confusion sometimes because you may say beau-frère for the brother of your wife, right? He's not your, ce n'est pas ton frère, it's not your brother, c'est ton beau-frère. But un beau-frère is also the word for a step-brother. So for example, the son of the woman that your father remarried is also your beau-frère. That means he's also your brother through a remarriage, but it's not through a marriage of some sort, but it's through the marriage of your parents, the remarriage, as opposed to the marriage of your brother and sister. So beau and belle is used for both the in-law relationship as well as the step relationship. You also have the term demi, un demi-frère, une demi-sœur, a brother or sister who you share one parent with. You know, maybe you have the same mother, but she's been married twice, so there's two different fathers. Voilà, c'est ta. Then you would either say c'est ma belle-sœur ou ma demi-sœur, or mon beau-frère ou mon demi-frère, depending on what you want to emphasize. And to talk about marriage status itself, you would say, for example, that Nadia est mariée. Abia, n'est-ce pas, est célibataire, she's single. Xavier est veuf. The word for widower is veuf. The word for widow is veuve. And voilà, sa femme, Fatima, est malheureusement décédée. So that's the word for deceased. If we go on in the book, we arrive at the parents, in this sense, parents as relatives of Adelaide. Voilà, le père d'Abia. Donc, to go back, voilà Adelaide, n'est-ce pas? Adelaide et Bissas, voilà leur famille. Et donc maintenant, voilà la famille de Adelaide. Adelaide, voilà, et Bissas sont là, avec Xavier, Abia et Nadia. Alors, le frère, oh voilà, il a deux frères, non, il a un frère, Kofi, et puis, voilà la belle-sœur d'Adelaide, Marie-Claire, Mais Marie-Claire et Kofi sont séparés or divorcés, depending, separated or divorced. Et voilà la sœur d'Adley, Kisha, et son mari, ou son époux. Donc l'époux de Kisha s'appelle Justin Woods. Et donc voilà la famille, Jérôme, Stéphanie, Cindy. Alors, what are their relations to Abia? Cindy est la cousine d'Abia. Stéphanie est aussi la cousine d'Abia. Abia a 2 cousines. Donc, ce sont les cousines d'Abia. Et Jérôme, c'est le cousin. But of course, if we're talking about Jérôme, Stéphanie et Cindy together, we're going to say, ce sont les cousins. Voilà, you say cousine only if it's the girls. Another way to talk about the partner is le conjoint ou la conjointe, or le partenaire ou la partenaire. We also have these words, la famille proche, so the immediate family is on the first page, et la famille élargie, it's the extended family. And you also have l'animal domestique, le chien ou le chat. So the book gives you all of these family members. There's also la tante d'Abia. Kisha est la tante d'Abia. Et Kofi est l'oncle. Voilà, l'oncle et la tante. So you have all this vocabulary, and as always, your exercises are about working it out. I think that the exam that you just took should prompt some of you to spend a little more time with these activities. You may prepare yourself better. After listening to this Tegrity, why don't you spend time with the built-in audio-visual vocabulary work that they give you? They give you these wonderful enregistrements, so you just can listen to the pronunciation, and they also give you flashcards that come with the first section, where you can quiz yourself. I can't find it here. Oh, I have to go over to the first page. There's flashcards embedded somewhere around here. Work with the flashcards. Work with the different, the flashcards to review the vocabulary as you go. Once you know the words, even if the person in the tape is speaking fast, you will be able to hear it. You can't hear the French if you haven't learned the vocabulary. And as you listen to the French, it also helps you learn the vocabulary too. It's a circular kind of catch-22 situation. So here is one activity. Here is another activity where you're just going through the family and talking about le frère de, la sœur de, and then talking about marital status, divorcé, célibataire, décédé, veuf, marié. And then you have this great activity, la famille d'Abia. Préparez un paragraphe de 5 à 6 phrases pour décrire la famille d'Abia. D'où vient sa famille? Combien d'enfants est-ce qu'il y a dans sa famille? Combien de frères et sœurs est-ce qu'Abia a? Et combien de cousins ou de cousines? Quels membres de la famille sont mariés ou divorcés? Just by responding to these questions, you are creating a writing sample in French. Work with it. Spend time writing. And then come to class on Tuesday with an image on your phone, or even better, a real picture in which you are prepared to talk about your family. Isn't this a wonderful lesson to have just 1 week, just exactly 1 week before you actually gather with your close and extended family for Thanksgiving? Voila. These activities here, the questions, are going to help you prepare for our class warm-up. And then, let's have fun with les familles célèbres. Connaissez-vous des familles célèbres? Créez des phrases pour décrire la famille des personnes suivantes. So, some of these people you may not recognize. Google them. Carla Bruni Sarkozy est la femme de Nicolas Sarkozy. C'est la fille d'Alberto Bruni. Et c'est la sœur de Valérie Bruni. I believe she actually has a hyphenated name. Bruni Tedeschi is the sister. Le Prince Charles, Jeb Bush, Gemma et Barbara Bush, Arnold Schwarzenegger, voilà. There's all kinds of possibilities. as you talk about these people, you know, le prince Charles est le fils de la reine Élisabeth II, et c'est le mari de, n'est-ce pas? Et c'est l'ancien mari de, n'est-ce pas? And voilà. That's how you attend class today and prepare for class next Tuesday. Bon travail.